Hey, we got a cold winter morning here in Kansas City, so today we're going to be tackling some St. Louis style cut spare ribs on the El Cheapo Brinkmann Smoke and Grill, so let's do it. All right, so first thing we've got here, we got a homemade fire starter made with some dryer lint, an egg carton, and some sticks. We're going to light this and let that get going. And now that it's going, we're going to go ahead and put our chimney on top. We've got about 7 to 10 coals in there. We're just trying to get a small bed started. We're using the snake method today. You know, this really helps out give you a long, constant, consistent burn with pretty low maintenance. I like it a lot. Today we're also going to be using a temperature probe on our smoke and grill. Today we're going to be using some hickory wood chunks to give us some great strong flavor on these ribs. And as you can see, you know, this fire starter is working really wonders for us, doing a great job. So we're going to pour these coals out to get our bed started, and then we're going to let this come up to temp. You can see our temperature starting to slowly climb up. We're going to let this get up to at least about 225, 250 before we add our hickory wood chunks on to get us that good smoke. And while we're waiting for the smoker to come up to temp, we have our prepared ribs here in foil that we worked on last night. Let's take a look at what I did to get those ready for the smoker today. All right, as you can see here, we have a beautiful St. Louis cut style spare ribs that we're going to be cooking up today on our Brinkmann. So first things first, get that membrane off the back. Just grab a paper towel, it should come off pretty easily with that. Then afterwards, you know, my smoker unfortunately doesn't have a huge amount of space, so I am going to have to cut this in half, which isn't as pleasing aesthetically. Afterwards, we're going to make sure we rub it down with paper towel just to get all that excess goop off. And then here comes our rub. So, you know, this is a homemade rub that we get down here at the city market in Kansas City. So, you know, obviously very well known for barbecue. So went to the city market and picked up some of their rubs. They have a great spice section over there and have a whole lot of opportunities for us to mix and match and experiment with our different rubs. Afterwards, you know, I make sure to kind of rub it in. I don't use mustard or anything else as a binder. I've usually never had any issues with my spices sticking. So, you know, I just kind of give it a good sprinkling and then push it in a little bit, rub it around, make sure that everything is sticking. And then, you know, one of the things I'll do afterwards, obviously you see we have a lot of exposed edges here and some seasoning on the foil. I'm going to make sure that I mop that around and make sure that we're picking up all of that great seasoning. And after that, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up in some foil, put it back in the fridge, and we will be using this first thing tomorrow morning. Getting up there towards our desired temp between 225 and 275 for the day. So I'm going to go ahead and throw our first piece of hickory wood on, let some clean smoke roll through, and then I'll slap these ribs on here. All right, so our temperature came up. We're a little bit higher than what we wanted at 225 to 275, but it's coming down. So that fire's stabilizing. We got a good source of heat there with some hickory. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw these ribs on and get them going. So here we go, here's our slab, our rack cut in half. So we're gonna set that down. Temperature dropped a little bit because we opened up the hood, but that should be climbing up soon, any second. So what we're gonna do with these, we're gonna go ahead and smoke these ribs for about 3 hours or so, every 45 minutes, giving them a little spritz of apple juice and apple cider vinegar. We'll check them around the 3-hour mark, see if they're ready to be taken out and wrapped to get them more tender, and then we'll see where we go from there. Earlier on, I mentioned the term clean smoke, and I just want to kind of give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So as you can see here, we just have a small amount of see-through smoke. You don't want that white, pillowy, cloudy stuff in it. You know, it dissipates very quickly. It's not super, dense. It's see-through. It's almost like a bluish hue. That's how you know you're burning good fuel and getting the clean smoke flavors from that wood. You saw me earlier doing the smoke method. Let me tell you why I love this so much. It holds a really constant, steady temp, gives you a solid, long burn time on your coals. And the only time I've really had to mess with it is to add on another wood chunk to make sure we're still getting some good smoke. But otherwise, the snake method is a fantastic option when you're trying to get a long burn that is steady, pretty good constant temp. Right now you can see we're holding at 264. My goal was between 225 and 275, so we're right in that range, doing great with the snake method. All right, ribs have been on about an hour and a half. We're still getting this amazing clean smoke. I checked them at 45 minutes and they didn't really look like they need to be sprayed, but certainly starting to dry out a little bit now and really get some good flavor and bark on there. So gonna go ahead and spritz them down a little bit again with our apple and apple cider vinegar, and we'll check back in a little bit. All right, quick update here. They've been on about an hour and 45 minutes. I'll probably give it another half hour or so before spritzing again. I think I did it about 20 minutes or so ago. As you can see, we still have this great, clean, thin smoke coming out. We're doing a really good job with our fire maintenance. And as we can see, our temperature is holding real steady. I think most of it has been between 250 and 275. I know our goal was at least 225, but very happy to have it a little bit higher in that range too, because we're looking for some good flavor, some good color and char on these ribs also. All right, so quick update. They've been on for about 2 hours and 40 minutes. We're still getting some good smoke, less though, so I might add another piece on in a little bit. But let's go ahead and spritz them for the last time before we take them off and wrap. They are looking absolutely beautiful. That is the kind of color you're looking for. You want to get that great bark, so we're just going to spritz them, make sure they don't dry out too much. Probably give them another 20 or 30 minutes on here, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap them and get them real nice and tender. So a lot of people like to do a lot of different things when it comes to wrapping. I am just doing a few pads of butter for each half of the rack of ribs with a little bit of brown sugar. So I'm gonna take them off in about 20 or 30 minutes, put them on these, wrap them up, put them back on there for another couple hours, and then we're gonna probe for tenderness, make sure that we're seeing a lot of drawback from those bones, and then they'll be ready to get back on the smoker after a quick glaze of sauce so that they can get really nice and caramelized. About 3 hours, almost on the dot. We pulled our ribs off. We've got our foil ready for them to be wrapped. You know, and another point about this is it doesn't have to be exactly about the time. I was really happy with how these are looking on the outside in terms of the color, the bark, the fact that the seasoning is not rubbing off at all. So that's why I decided to pull it. If for some reason my temperature wasn't holding right or they weren't looking quite right, I would have given them a lot more time before taking them off and wrapping, but they're looking wonderful. So I'm gonna go ahead and give them a wrap and then put them back on. In addition, just gonna give them one last spritz of our apple cider vinegar mix. Make sure they don't dry out. So after about another 2 hours and 15 minutes or so on the smoker, here is what we are left with. Beautiful looking rack of ribs. The meat is pulling away from the bones just as it should. Our butter and our brown sugar really did its job. It looks moist. It has a lot of juice. So next what we're going to do is we're going to probe both for temperature and for tenderness. They, slides through just like butter. We're looking for about 200 to 202. And here is what we are left with. An absolutely incredible rack of ribs. Flipped over, this is what they're looking like. And I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this next part, but I was running out of fuel for my smoker, so to finish them off, instead of putting them back on there, I'm just going to give them a little bit of glaze with some barbecue sauce and a little bit of apple juice to thin it out, and I'm going to go ahead and finish this under the broiler in the oven. So what we want with that glaze, we don't want anything too thick, too globby. We're just giving it a nice little very thin coat of this mixture, and we're going to put it under the broiler on low for just a couple of minutes. And after a couple of minutes, here we are again, just applying one more very thin layer of that barbecue sauce mixture. And after all that, here is the incredible finished product we are left with. Looks absolutely beautiful. The bark has that really nice red mahogany brown color. You can see the bones are just waiting to fall off, but it's holding up nicely, but incredibly tender, as you can tell. So we're gonna go ahead and cut ourselves one right here, get ourselves a little sample to show everybody. Look at this, the smoke penetrated so deeply. You're gonna get great hickory flavor in every bite and just dripping in juice and great flavor. Obviously the last bit is the taste test. Great bite to it, but pulls right off the bone when you're dragging it. And with how good they were, it was impossible for me to just eat one. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you really enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe. I'm going to be posting a lot more barbecue videos. But for now, I got a rack of ribs to eat.